Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is get booted up. So, I like to put in some socks, rather thick socks, thick woolen socks, and then go ahead and put the gravity boot on. And it's important that the gravity boot is reasonably snug. So I find that, clicking it once and then clicking the lower one more time makes it nice and snug, and then sees that the clip that's going to hang on to the bar is aligned with your second toe. So that way, there isn't any torque or any problem with your doing your balancing. So once you have your boots on, what are we trying to do? So the goal of this particular exercise, and this should probably be the very first thing you do before you start your day, is to kind of reverse all the bad effects of gravity on our bodies, right? So gravity works 24 hours a day, making us shorter. Now during the 9 hours or 7-8 hours that we are sleeping, gravity is not working vertically, so it's a little bit better, and that's why the body can heal itself, etc. But during the rest of the day, even when you're sitting, gravity is pulling us down. It's compressing every joint in the body. And, the pads that we have, the meniscus pad between behind the kneecap, the hip joints, all the 32 different discs that we have between our vertebrae, everything is compressed. And so actually over time, people start shrinking. So, and the juiciness of those pads gets reduced, and as a consequence, there is no apparently there is no arteries and veins that go into these pads, so they get their energy by osmosis. And the only way to get osmosis is to squeeze them and then relax them, so that as you relax them, the nutrients from the blood or the plasma flow right into it and re-energize them. So the whole goal of before starting any workout, etc., is to have a nice stretch, a reverse stretch, which ends up opening up all your joints and kind of re-energizes all the thick pads that we have between our joints. And that, is to a large degree what gives us and keeps our flexibility, bending flexibility, rotational flexibility, all the directional flexibilities that we have, sustained as we age. So key element to being supple as we age is to keep the joints juiced up. So once we have put on our boots, we get on to the Teeter hanging table, and we start doing something that is a lot of fun. So I find that, just going up and down this swing, slowly brings blood flowing through all parts of the body. And even initially, before you can do the full hanging, if you just do this kind of a swing for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes a day, you'll find that, you know, all kinds of benefits start flowing. For example, you know, when I start off, I'll go ahead and start activating different muscles to generate the swinging effect. So I'll first use my ankles to go ahead and pull me up and down, or to get me to swing. Then I'll use my calf muscles. Then I'll use my hamstrings. Then I'll use my flexors and my core in order to go up and down. Then I'll use my rear back muscles while all the rest of the muscles are relaxed. And then I'll finally use my cervical or neck muscles in order to go ahead, and I'll activate all of these muscles one by one. And then when I'm reasonably stretched out and I'm ready to start going all the way down and hanging upside down. So here we are, hanging upside down. And you know, initially very gently we start rotating and recruit additional muscles of the hips, and in order to start rotating while we keep the rest of the muscles relaxed, the neck muscles, and try to relax as much as we can to start generating the stretching of all the things that have been compressed during the last 24 hours. So we swing in one direction and then we swing in the other direction, but this motion is largely generated by ankles initially, so I get some rotational energy, rotational effort going on in the ankle area. Then I'm going to, while the rest of the body is just going for the ride, then I'm going to get the hips involved. I'm going to keep the ankles steady while I get the hips to do the rotation. And then I let the rest of the body just flow along with whatever the hips are doing. So the hips are doing all the work, while the top body, thorax and the neck and the head and the arms are just rotating along, are there for the ride. Then we reverse direction. And there is no work in this, it almost feels like a lot of fun. It is enjoyable as the blood rotates, goes all the way in the body and through the dilated arteries and veins. Then I go ahead, and now that I'm relaxed out and stretched out, I'll go and do a stretching exercise. So I stretch out, you know, I do some push-ups, vertical push-ups. And not very difficult at all, since there is no gravity working against you. But you know, you can use it to start stretching out additional rotational muscles in the back part of the body. Okay, so once you've done that, it's time for our first handstand. So put the fingers properly on the mat. The middle finger points straight up. Then you push down with the ball of the hand and the sides and the thumbs, and not the thumbs, but push down with
basically the full palm. Okay, and we move the weight gradually and rotate your arms and move the body. So now you're actually hanging, and you're not hanging. Your ankles are relaxed, and all the weight has moved to the palms, and you're doing a full handstand kind of action in this motion, in this state. Take about 10 breaths. Now each breath during this entire exercise is divided into 4 parts. In breath, hold the breath, exhale, hold the emptiness. So there are 4 steps to every breath. And during this, while you're taking this breath, you're also working on your bandhas. So you have your, start off with your Mula Bandha, where you're pulling your perineum floor and your pelvic bowl up. And it becomes easier, obviously, or down actually, because, gravity is helping you for once. And your belly, and then when you exhale, you find that automatically you get something called Uddiyana Bandha, which is very difficult experience till you're trained in a standing position. But here gravity helps you because all the organs in the abdominal cavity, essentially plug down on the diaphragm and push it down when you breathe out, because there's no lung pressure to push the diaphragm up. So you breathe out, let the diaphragm, kind of relax back into the thoracic cavity, and then we want to really get an internal stretch. So what you do is hold your breath and expand your thoracic capacity. It's like a reverse action. So we breathe out. And when you expand your thoracic capacity, when it's empty, guess what? Basically, the diaphragm gets sucked right deep inside the thoracic cavity, and that pulls all the muscles and flexors all the way up and stretches it. So you get a beautiful stretch in your abdominal area. Then hold that thing and now do something called Ujjayi breathing, which is compress your throat when you're breathing so that you now don't lose the stretch that you've got during Uddiyana. So you do your Ujjayi breathing, which is keeping your throat slightly compressed and breathing the air in and out in the 4 stages that I showed. After 10 breaths, you let it go, and now let the blood rush back into the palms, and slowly, move your wrists. Let's get the wrist all juiced up, because that's where people get all kinds of problems coming in the hand. For example, like, once I stopped doing this for a few months, I found that I started getting trigger finger. Trigger finger is where some arteries get thickened up, and the tendons going, not the arteries, sorry, some nerve sheets get thickened up, and the nerves that control the tendons and the tendons that go through these nerve sheets are constricted, and then your fingers don't basically move properly. So by doing some of these hand exercises, you get a lot of blood flowing in there, and essentially everything's energized. And we do it this way again, this way, then one this way, one horizontally, one vertically. Now what you're doing is you're fixing your brain. You're fixing the brain or the cerebellum, which controls movement, to start being smart, to start getting control, where one hand is doing one thing and the other hand is doing another thing. Before I forget, I should give full credit, all the credit for this exercise routine that we're going to do to my yoga guru, Arkady Shirin, who is in San Francisco. He's planning to move to Italy, but right now he's in San Francisco, and he basically helped all of us learn these things. So now we've got to get the cervix, energized, and the neck muscles going. You don't want to be hunched up over, right? So we pull our shoulders down, open up the neck, and then, like a Bharatanatyam dancer, we get the neck moving from side to side. There are a whole bunch of muscles that generally are not, your mind is, your brain or cerebellum is not aware of. And as you do this exercise, you find that, suddenly you have control of these muscles that these Bharatanatyam dancers utilize. So we do 10 of them, and it's easy to count. You just take 2.5 breaths per movement. So basically, one breath, hold it, second exhale, hold it. So you finished off 4 moves in one breath. So you do 2.5 and you've done 10 moves. And again, it's Ujjayi breathing all along. Then we have to move the head in both directions, side to side and laterally. So let's rotate it. And you can, at least I can hear a bunch of clicks going on in my cervical area as the vertebrae, which has all these small little projections, and have gone out of place, are moving. Then you go the other direction. Two and a half breaths and it's done. Now we do up and down. And the important thing I've learned is that the more you do it, you start learning how to recruit and manage different muscles in every movement. And rub your chin against your base of your throat, and then to the side, up, and all the way down. And as the head moves in one direction, the eyes move in the opposite direction, because there is a whole bunch of muscles around the eyes that also need to be working. And so as your head moves in one direction, you look in the other direction, and you'll find that all of a sudden you are working on 2 sets of muscles or 2 movements at the same time, and boy, there's no time to think of anything else that's going on in life. So once you've done 10 of them, now, very important, A lot of people, as they age or whatever, start getting TMJ, which is basically a very painful uh, problem in the mandibular area, so you can't bite very easily. So what you do is you stretch this area and then you hold your shoulder and rotate your head. So basically you are stretching the right mandible, which is a tough big muscle, and you're stretching it so that it stays. Take 5 breaths here. And then no. And now we do 10 rotations to the other direction. 2.5 breaths. A breath in for one rotation, hold it for the other rotation, exhale it over the third rotation, and hold the exhalation for the fourth rotation. So you get 2.5 breaths again. 10 rotations are done. And again, let's stretch the left mandible. This TMJ problem is not easy to solve once you get it. So it's better never to get it. Okay. Now we've finished off all the neck exercises in every direction. Now we put the hands facing sideways. So once the hands are sideways, now we can do a handstand with fingers pointing outside. And we take 10 breaths or 10 holders for 10 breaths, doing Ujjayi breathing. While you're doing this, it's very good to move your awareness from one muscle to the next and tighten it. Because when you're doing handstand, you want every muscle to be taut. Not stiff, but taut. The glutes, hamstrings, the quads, the calves, all muscles need to be tight. And then the lower abdomen is pulled in. And during Uddiyana, you can tighten it and hold it like that. Like doing Ujjayi breathing. Now let's get blood back into the hands. And I hold my palms together, my elbows together, and start rotating slowly initially. Rotations in one direction and 10 rotations in the other direction. Then I stretch out my hands and rotate them. Then I do this shoulder type of workout for all the joints. Okay, now time to start working on the shoulders. So rotate it. 1, 2. Want to cut into the waistline as you pull down. So 10 for each motion. And you notice the hands are going in rotation. Because Arkady says a rope is strong because all the threads are wrapped around each other. If they were not wrapped around each other, the strength would drop by a factor of 10. So same way with our hands, we want to wrap the muscles around each other. Now we go the other way. I suppose muscles are dynamic, so you can wrap it in one direction and you can wrap it in the other direction. But with each wrapping activity, what you're doing is you're squeezing and relaxing these muscles which squeeze the blood out and in from into each of these muscle fibers. Now that we've done that, we get the whole body moving. So the neck is relaxed, so it's just there for the ride. The hips are relaxed, they're there for the ride. While you move your hands, move your shoulders, sorry. Move your shoulder blades up and down. And don't forget your breathing at the same time. Your breath is 4 breaths, 4 steps in each, stages in each breath. And you do ujjayi breathing so that your bandhas stay tight and your whole body is nice and getting a nice workout. And now we get 2 shoulders working together. The other way. And we're done. Now we go backwards. Imagine doing handstand with hands facing backwards. It's going to give a major stretch to your wrist and put all kinds of interesting forces to act on your wrist joint. Okay, once that is done, you've obviously stretched out the wrist significantly. So now I give it a massage. I take my fingers and re-energize my joint. Then I catch my hands and press the joint here. For 1 breath. Press this joint for 1 breath. Massage it out. Another one. Massage it out. One at the top. Massage it out. And then the space between the bones is where all your veins and nerves and plasma and everything is. So that's where you want to get the blood flowing on all sides. Then you press the base of the palm and rotate it out. One direction, 5 times, the other direction 5 times. And press the base of the thumb and a little bit up. And with my fingers, I squeeze each of the joints, and then around each thumb, I've got 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the top 6. And I press each digit. And then each finger. Let's start with this hand. Goes pretty fast. The whole trick I've learned in massage and yoga and Ayurveda, etc., is compression, release, compression, release. So when we press down, we are pushing all the blood out. And when we let it go and relax, blood rushes in. And just like you do that to cleaning of a pipe, same way the pipes in the body are cleaned out and joints are removed, all the garbage, toxicity is removed. And then again, right between the muscles is where all the blood vessels are, so we're going to massage all of that. And for the arms, make sure the legs. Right below the clavicle. And between, right behind the clavicle. Okay, now we are ready to floss our shoulders. So I had some scar tissue building up in my right shoulder, and all of a sudden my hands would not go basically the full 360 degrees, because that requires the joint here to rotate completely inside the rotator cuff, and because of the scar tissue it was obstructing it, and my God, was it painful. But then by doing the flossing every day for about 2 months, it started healing. This body is amazing. No injections, no steroids, no operation, but you go ahead. But it's easier to do this flossing when you are upside down, because this bone is automatically separated from the muscle, and as a consequence it has a little bit of space to move. So then I'm going to do a reverse cow pose. So 2 months ago, my fingers wouldn't even touch. They were like inches apart. Now they're touching. So that's progress. So enjoy the progress. And then now let's start getting leg muscles into the action. Stretch the touch almost half an inch of my fingers, and 3 fingers, that too. So my left shoulder is a little bit, is definitely not scarred. So now we have to use our core muscles to pull us up. So once I'm able to reach the bar, I go ahead and stretch out the hamstrings, and also the lats. Once that is done, try and get some reverse pressure on the wrists. One direction, another direction, and this direction. One day I hope to do a handstand with my palms facing up. How's that? I don't know whether it'll happen in this lifetime. Okay, we are basically done. Time to relax. Basically have the blood rushing back into the ankles and feet. They're being hanged upside down, so all the blood that generally ends up collecting in the feet and the lower joints have all gone to the head, to the brain. Imagine how much energy is there in your mind, and we are done with this. So for 20-30 minutes, a nice stretch, and now you're ready to do your yoga. How about that?